Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for joining today's webinar. You should see a Q&A box directly on your screen where you can submit questions for today's speakers. Later today, you'll be sent a link to the on-demand recording. And now I will hand it over to today's presenters.
Thank you. Hey guys, my name is Deva. I lead the product management team at SevOne, and I'm excited to talk about all the things that we've introduced in the most recent release, IBM SevOne 7.2, that went GA on February 27th. So let's kick it off. So the requirements for modern businesses that require a consistent and predictable user experience that hasn't quite changed, right? Apps reside in hybrid cloud environment, and that's the reality today. Like components of apps are in on-prem environments, components of apps are residing in multiple different clouds. And network engineers have found it extremely hard to troubleshoot issues for applications that reside in this multi-cloud or hybrid cloud environment. But the reality is the components of the apps are pretty much located at disparate places, and you have many different tools to troubleshoot kind of like each and every component. And continuous network performance is just becoming increasingly challenging, right? According to an EMA report in 2024, these are kind of like the four highlights of problems that network engineers face, or like operations face. The shift to hybrid cloud and SaaS, working from home is kind of driving apps closer to the user. A static to dynamic network shift with more SD-WAN networks coming into picture, SDN networks, SASE networks coming into the picture. Labor shortages, NetOps teams are extremely, NetOps expertise is extremely hard to find in the market. And lastly, like I spoke about, fragmented visibility and control. Tool sprawl is a real problem. You have one tool to troubleshoot your cloud, you have one tool to troubleshoot your on-prem network. And when you're troubleshooting across disparate tools, it becomes a real challenge and increases your mean time to resolution. So what we have in IBM SevOne 7.0 Plus is application-centric network observability. We made a lot of changes, a lot of improvements to allow our users to ask questions like, what is wrong with my application? Start with the question of what's going on with my Microsoft Teams traffic, and then drill into what interfaces are running that Microsoft Teams traffic, or what interfaces have discards or errors. And that is facilitated by a lot of improvements to the identification of applications. We have a new BGP ASN mapping from IP. We have IP to application mapping in some of the new releases. We've also invested heavily into our hybrid cloud network visibility, starting with AWS. Then we followed it up with our Azure plugin. And in the most recent release, we've introduced GCP as a plugin as well. And lastly, we continue to invest in our data insight product that gives you really great abilities to analyze your traffic, right? You collect all of this data, and how can you analyze it? How can you derive more insights out of it? And how can you take actions on those? So with our partnership with RNA, you're able to take actions on the insights generated from alerting. So you can have completely self-healing networks. And our integrations journey continues to evolve, right? Like I spoke about, we introduced not just AWS, Azure, GCP, but we've made several enhancements to our SD-WAN offerings. We've introduced VeloCloud SD-WAN in 6.7, and in the most recent release in 7.2, we've introduced two new SD-WAN plugins. One is for Aruba Edge Connect, which was formerly known as Silver Peak, and we've also pluginized our Cisco SD-WAN, the Viptela plugin. And I'll talk through all of the improvements in the next few slides. So hybrid multi-cloud network visibility. So we're pleased to announce the availability of GCP as a plugin. GCP is in public preview. So why did we do this, right? If you look at the market share of the public cloud leaders, AWS still continues to lead. Azure is gaining market share, and also GCP. The reality is most organizations are either in all of these three clouds, and the top three contribute to almost 70% of the market share. So it made sense for us to like complete the trifecta and like have GCP as a plugin as well. So what we offer here is you have a project-based integration You can create integrations to a GCP project on a per project basis, and projects can be an equivalent of accounts in AWS, for example. So we offer real-time monitoring of GCP workloads, so you can identify bottlenecks and optimize those cloud-based resources as well. Once you have an alert from a GCP environment, you can take automated actions using RNA if needed. So I'll talk through some of the highlights of the GCP plugin. So we have automated device adds. Once you create the integration, you no longer need to add devices on a manual basis. As you add new compute instances to your GCP environment or to your GCP project, they'll still just appear as devices in your NMS. We also offer out-of-the-box reports within Data Insight. Data Insight has this new neat ability to have folders, and we've put a lot of out-of-the-box content in those folders in the public cloud folder. In the initial get-go for the public preview, we are supporting 4 different resource types: compute instances, cloud storage, cloud router, and cloud interconnect, something many network engineers would like to focus on. And we quickly gonna follow it up with many more resources. So if you have more resources of interest, do submit idea requests at ideas.ibm.com. The plugin is built such that we can easily add new resources quickly. We also offer metadata collection, and metadata allows you to derive more insights on the specific resources that you're monitoring, right? How do you tell your compute instance is of a certain type? How many CPU cores does your compute instance have? What region does it belong to? So we add all of that as metadata that allows you to slice and dice the data the way you'd like. So you can have reports with filters using metadata. And like I mentioned earlier, we support multiple projects. So you can have multiple different integrations created. If one team just cares about one GCP project, they can simply create just that one integration. If you care about many more, you can create multiple different integrations. And we've kept kind of like the promise of SevOne in mind. It is extremely scalable. If you have a really large GCP deployment, you can simply deploy more peers and have that monitored. So this is what one of the out-of-the-box report looks like, right? For compute instances, we made heavy use of top-end reports because everything in the cloud is usage-based. You're billed according to your usage. So it does make sense for you to kind of like track your sent bytes, received bytes in a top-end fashion to figure out what instances are generating the most traffic and why is something anomalous. Should I take some actions on why exactly an instance is generating as much traffic as it is? So we made heavy use of top-end reports, and we wanted to build something that allows users to create integrations and derive insights within minutes. So as you create the integration, it kicks off the backend process of adding all these new resources that we support in GCP, and then you can simply jump into Data Insight. You don't really have to create new reports. You can simply consume the out-of-the-box reports and derive insights of what exactly is going on in your environment. So compute instances is supported. We also support GCP Cloud Router. What that does is it allows you to create BGP connections from your on-prem network to a VPC within GCP. So it is important for network engineers to have visibility to different aspects of the GCP Cloud Router, and we monitor stats like BGP session flaps, the number of routes advertised from the GCP VPC, all of those things. What we're doing here is we're pulling the Stackdriver APIs, which is now called GCP Cloud Monitoring APIs. And we're simply, on an ongoing basis, pulling data from GCP and adding them into the NMS. Cloud Interconnect, a heavily requested feature by our users. We support 3 different types of cloud interconnects. The dedicated interconnect, the partner interconnect, if you have like partners like Equinix that you use to kind of create an interconnect to GCP. And lastly, the cross-cloud interconnect, where you can create VPNs between your AWS environment or Azure environment to GCP. So all 3 are supported. As you can see here, I'm monitoring light levels for a certain interconnect in my environment. One of them shows a negative 40 dBm. So I could take automated actions on that, right? When the light levels drop down, I can use RNA to create a ticket with Equinix to figure out what exactly is going on. So you can really automate a lot of workflows with the power of SevOne and RNA. And lastly, cloud storage as well, right? It's important to monitor why exactly a particular bucket or GCS, like Google Cloud Storage object count is really high, because that could contribute to your GCP bill in the end. So we also allow you to monitor several different metrics for Google Cloud Storage. And in addition, we also monitor the API calls made to these buckets. Um, so that again is like extremely helpful. All right. So next, I'm going to talk about a new feature introduced in 7.2 for synthetic indicators with our cloud plugins. Uh, in the past, we didn't allow users to create synthetics, and why it is important, right? It's important to track cost of different metrics, because, like I mentioned, everything is usage based. The number of bytes in or bytes out on a transit gateway contributes to your AWS bill. So how do you map that to the cost that is unique to you, right? You might have contracts with AWS or Azure that gives you some special pricing. How do you map that to a cost? So allowing users to create synthetic indicators based on like the bytes in, bytes out data becomes really important. And that's what we've done in this release. We've added the ability for users to create synthetic calculations. For example, in case of transit gateway, you only have metrics for bytes in, right? You're billed by bits per second. So how do you derive that insight? Basically, convert that and multiply it by the cost. Then you can create neat dashboards that show you the cost of your transit gateway over any period. So, in summary, what we're trying to do is we're trying to reduce tool sprawl, right? We're trying to give network engineers a holistic view of their entire network. Applications, like I said, reside on different clouds today, different on prem networks, and it is important to have a single tool that monitors it all. So you can have like a holistic view of what's going on in your network without having to jump the hoops on contacting different teams on whether they have an issue or not. And just to summarize our offerings for cloud, we offer all of these resources today for AWS, Azure, and the newly introduced GCP platform. Like I mentioned, like we're open to ideas, we're open to add new resources here, so we can quickly add them to our roadmap as we see fit. Next, I'm going to talk about some of the new plugins that we've introduced for SD-WAN. So let's dive right into it. So we introduced HP Aruba Edge Connect SD-WAN plugin, formerly known as Silver Peak. They went through several acquisitions, once with Aruba and then with HP. So what we've done here, we've extended our SD-WAN capabilities. We already supported VeloCloud, Fortinet, Viptela, Versa, and we quickly followed it up with Silver Peak. And why does it matter, right? HP Aruba Edge Connect offers a centralized orchestrator that gives you many different insights on application aware traffic steering, many different aspects. But it does make sense for you to have not just have like a separate environment that shows you all these stats. It makes sense for you to have your on-prem network stats along with your SD-WAN network stats in the same page. Um, so the highlights of this plugin, we have automated onboarding like any other plugin. So once you create an integration with the orchestrator, we reach out to the orchestrator and onboard all the devices. We also check for reachability. We check for SNMP reachability to all of these IPs and add them into the NMS. It comes as a part of the NMS, so no external collectors required, right? No 3-node Kubernetes cluster, nothing required. As you update your environment to 70, you just get this functionality by default. It simply appears in the add devices page. We're also collecting a rich set of metadata here, metadata like model, serial number, the OS version, all of that. And lastly, out of the box reports, we've introduced a new SD-WAN report folder within Data Insight. So no need to reach out to us or download out of the box reports. You can simply go from integrations to insights within minutes. And on the right side here, I'm showing you some of the top end reports that show you most utilized interfaces in your Aruba SD-WAN network, top conversations. But the real value comes from being able to visualize overlays, your from zone and to zone that you can configure on your Silver Peak environment. And with the identification that SevOne does on an application layer, you can simply click on any particular application and figure out what overlays are being used and what interfaces are those overlays configured on. Um, it's really valuable to use the options template or like the source template that Aruba Edge Connect offers and configure them with the flow IDs, and you can derive a lot of insights just from that. Next, I'm going to talk about the Cisco SD-WAN plugin. Now, if you recollect, we also have a collector offering for Viptela, formerly known as Viptela, now rebranded as Cisco SD-WAN. But we tried to follow it up with a plugin because it's really easy for users to get onboarded when it's like a plugin and not an external collector. So what this allows you to do is gain real-time insights to your SD-WAN deployment, right? Cisco SD-WAN has some API limits in terms of like delayed data, but what we've realized with SNMP-based integrations is it doesn't really have any kind of like that delay. And Cisco in the recent past has introduced a lot of metrics on their SNMP MIBs. And also they've introduced a lot of new things on their flow templates. Stats like BFD stats, QoS stats, IPsec tunnel stats, all of those are just available by default with this new Cisco SD-WAN plugin. Like every other plugin, we have automated onboarding. We have multi-tenant support. So if your vManage has multiple different tenants, it is supported. You can simply integrate with the master and you can onboard devices from the different tenants that belong to that master. And like I mentioned, no additional hardware footprint required. It simply comes as a part of the NMS. You can scale that out, add peers as you grow your vManage, as you grow your C edges or V edges. And like every other plugin, we have out of the box reports. We have a heavily modified device certification to make sense out of all of the objects, right? We've made a lot of modifications such that these object types are readable. Without those modifications, they simply appear as kind of like code words. And on the right side, I can show you a highlight of what those out of the box reports look like. So yeah, we're monitoring the BFD sessions. As you have BFD flaps, you can alert on those. You can figure out what providers are having the most BFD flaps and take actions on why exactly one provider is having so many BFD flaps, right? All right. So in summary, we've introduced two new SD-WAN plugins, one for Cisco, one for HP Aruba Edge Connect. In our roadmap, we also have Prisma SD-WAN that is in progress. So we have a really great SD-WAN offering. All right, next up, I'm going to cover Wi-Fi and Cisco ACI improvements. So what have we done in this release? We've introduced new indicators for availability. So for every AP that you have in your environment, we've introduced a new indicator for WLC availability. And why does it matter? When APs go missing, they aren't really associated to any WLCs, right? So we had no way to tell when an AP goes missing altogether. There was no indicator to point that out to users. So what we've done is we're also shipping a new alert by default that tells you when an AP goes completely missing and is no longer connected to a WLC. What we've also done is introduced a new metadata on every access point to tell you the operator status and admin status. And that is updated every poll cycle. So in here, you can see the alert in action, show you the WLC is down. And then here you can see the new indicator showing the availability WLC as the new indicator introduced on a per access point basis. And like I mentioned, the metadata, we introduced new admin status and operator status right within the device summary page. You can see that. Next, for the Cisco ACI, our SDN offering, we've also tested it with the latest APEC version, that is 6.2. And we have like automation in place to keep it evergreen. So as Cisco comes up with new versions, we're going to be like certifying newer versions of support. And lastly, I'm going to talk about monitoring each of the API integrations, right? When we create these plugins, when we create the integrations, there was no way for us to monitor whether the orchestrator went down or whether there's a connectivity issue with that orchestrator, right? So what we're making use of is our HTTP plugin. We're enabling the HTTP plugin in addition to our ICMP plugin to all of these orchestrator URLs to figure out are we actually having any errors on, do we have any HTTP status code returned on reaching out to that orchestrator? Is the page available? What is the time for connection? And that can easily tell you if the orchestrator went down or has some issues. That allows you to proactively monitor whether the orchestrator has any issues. In the past, we only kind of like monitor the edges, but it does make sense for you to monitor the orchestrator as well, because you would have lack of like gaps in data if the orchestrator went down. All right, I think I covered a lot about integrations. Now I'll pass it off to Aaron to talk about some of the new things that we've introduced in Data Insight.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Deva. Great to be here. I see a lot of, I want to say friendly faces, but I can't see your face. But in the guest list, I see a lot of friends. Some of you might previously know me from my previous role for SevOne Sales in Canada. Here I am in product management, and I'm glad to be with you. So lots of things to talk about. We're going to start with the metadata collection and management. I want to say we've been a little weak here. Historically, we've collected a lot of great data and provided a lot of great information, but I think, we do have currently metadata namespaces, but I'm sure some of you have seen, like, you go in, you're looking for something, you want a little more data about something, a little context, and boy, that field's empty, and it's kind of annoying. So we've, in this release, and actually building up to this release, we spent a lot of time curating these two new namespaces for, well, we'll get into that, but we're curating a couple of new namespaces. Now, these namespaces are authoritative, they are complete, and the way that we do that is we are shipping now a new database with about 30,000 device fingerprints and enrichment for those devices. There's nothing you need to do. You don't need to turn anything on. Just upgrading to 7.2 is going to provide this to you. And what is this? Well, it's going to provide better situational awareness. What is a router? What is a switch? Where is this located? A lot of contextual information that may not have been previously available is now going to be available right at your fingertips. And we'll take a little bit of a deeper look into that. So here, curated metadata namespaces. We have a new device and location namespace. And these are top-level namespaces. We mean for these to be fully populated at all times. They're a standardized set of fields. And again, we want all of our plugins. In fact, all of our plugins will be populating the metadata. So at the moment, we've got SNMP, we have SD-WAN populating the metadata, but we're going to have additional plugins as we go provide the metadata that you see here. So you should always expect that this is going to be an authoritative, complete set of metadata for your device and location information. We do have some options for customers to populate some of the fields, although most of the fields I would say are read-only, only because we want that to be, again, a high-quality protected set of authoritative data. So there is some options. You can populate some of the data yourself, and I would say the majority of it, though, is pre-populated and just made to be easy to access and use. So this is going to drive some of our future product enhancements as well, and I'll talk a little bit about that shortly. But just getting into the device fingerprints and enrichment, again, we're shipping over 33,000 device fingerprints out of the box. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to install anything. It's just there. As I mentioned, it's SNMP and SD-WAN today, but we've got it coming for all the plugins. There's nothing you need to do in order to get this done. And again, we use the best source of truth. So in some cases, it may be local to that device. In some places, it may be from the controller. In some places, it may be from the cloud. Some places, it may be API, SNMP data. What we want to do is you don't need to know where it comes from. You just need to know that it is correct. And that is our goal. And then for those of you who are familiar with our device certification process, we are updating that device certification process to include capturing this additional metadata, this additional enrichment data. So going forward, this is just as important as the metric data that we collect, is this contextual data to provide you better information. So again, we doing all this for a very good reason. We want to enable awareness for today and tomorrow. And what does that mean? Well, let's take a little bit of a look here. So in DI, here we've got our device manager, and we're looking at a specific device within the device manager. For those of you who have upgraded to 7.0, you see the beautiful new device manager in DI, put a lot of work into that. But specifically in the middle on the left, you're going to see this new section called device metadata. And so here we can see that, okay, previously we saw a device. We didn't know too much about it. But here we can see, well, we've got the model. We can see that it is a Cisco device, an iOS device. We could see that it's a 6500 series with 9 slots. Thank you for telling me that. That's very easy to read, understand. It's a lot better than an OID that identified your device previously. We see the vendor, the OS family, the OS version. I mean, this can help with all kinds of things. For example, perhaps you have a CVE on a particular OS version. Here, it's really easy to see and get an information on, which devices are impacted. And then just to round that off, we added some URLs in here, of course, the main website, but additionally, which is helpful, is the support website, trying to understand perhaps if there's an issue, troubleshooting documents, that sort of thing, or just checking the warranty to ensure that that device is still within warranty before you go out and make that call. So a lot of new information, and I want to say complete, and we expect that these fields are always populated. So that was more for a lot of that data here. We can see that it came from SNMP. As I said, we're starting with SNMP and SD-WAN. For SD-WAN, I'm going to make this a little bigger on my side. There we go. For SD-WAN, you can see here, we've got, again, a list of the devices in the device manager for DI. And over here, we can see a couple of new fields. We've got a model, an OS version, a serial number. So this is helpful. This helps you understand, okay, well, which particular device or what kind of device type am I looking at within my SD-WAN infrastructure? vBond, vManage, C-Edge, vEdge, that sort of thing. Again, the OS version to help you understand, well, upgrades, vulnerabilities, that sort of thing. And again, serial number for asset management. Sometimes you just need to know exactly what device you're looking at. You can look it up by serial. So a lot of asset management systems work by serial number. So now we're talking about enabling today and tomorrow. Just a little tease. I don't want to get everybody too excited, but we obviously AI is very important these days, and we think that we can do great things. In fact, we know we can do great things with AI. We can make people's life easier. And so one of the things that we need to do in order to enable these great systems is contextual data. So we need to know what a router is, what a switch is, in order to provide, contextual, insightful information. And so this is going to be, this is a big step forward for us to be able to enable all this great context, so you'll be able to ask insightful, intelligent questions in a human kind of way. Again, not out with 7.2. We're building up to that. I would definitely expect great things here coming over the next couple of releases. Okay, so just to quickly go over that, device enrichment, it's new in 7.2. I know you had it before. It wasn't complete. We've done a much better job. It's a high quality, protected, authoritative data set. Some options for you to put in your own context and put in your own data. Again, it's going to drive a lot of future product enhancements, including, with our goal towards AI. It is enabled by shipping 33,000 device fingerprints out of the box. You don't need to do anything. We tried to provide you with the best information that's always updated and complete. And in the future releases, I'd expect more fingerprints, more plugins, and just better enrichment. Okay, so you can expect that from us going forward. All right, report scheduling and alert analysis. Okay, so what are we doing? Okay, we made vast improvements to the report scheduling and data insight. And we'll get into exactly which ones. So for example here, we've got multiple schedules and reports. So previously, one of the big reasons that we came out with DI was, for those of you who are familiar with our SURF, essentially we created DI so that you could have one report that was a template that allowed you to use variables in order to provide kind of different views. So you might have, for example, a data center view that with a variable for location. So you could look at the data center view report for Chicago or for San Francisco or for London. But one of the weaknesses is that when you scheduled reports, you could only schedule one report. No real support for the variables. So if you wanted a Chicago report, you're going to have to create that a Chicago schedule report. You're going to have to create a report just for Chicago, schedule, have it sent out. Same thing for San Francisco, same thing for London. It kind of defeated the purpose. And so now what we've allowed is multiple schedules in the same report. So we can deliver that same report now. We can have multiple schedules with different device groups or different variables out to different people. So we've kind of taken away that constraint now and fully, taken that goodness of one report for multiple people to answer multiple questions. So again, I guess that steps into number 3 is the use of variables in the schedules. We could do that now and schedule independent reports for different people for different variables from the same report. So, okay, what does that mean? Okay, so we improve the look and feel to make schedule creation easier for old and new users. So you can see on the right-hand side, we've got this slide out here. It shows, for example, the device groups, the report variables, and then the schedule details. You'll notice below that, there's a blue button called Add Schedule. So here is where you would see all of your schedules, and each schedule would contain a set of variables as well as a delivery mechanism and who they're being delivered to. So you can see this all in the same place now. So you can configure multiple release cadences, okay? Or I should say, report scheduling cadences. We can have multiple delivery recipients across multiple different resources. So mixing and matching, no longer a need for duplicate reports, which is fantastic. Additionally, for reporting enhancements, those of you who are familiar with our flow metrics, especially our flow metrics back in Flow Falcon, will be happy to see that we have brought in parity, I would say, for the metrics available within our flow views. Not only that, we've brought over some of the advanced settings for the data columns and sorting that we had previously in Flow Falcon are now over in DI. So much easier now to create the same sets of reports. Just to be specific, we've brought in some average link utilization, bandwidth as a percentage of the total bandwidth available, bandwidth as a percentage of the used bandwidth available. We also have metrics like multicast link utilization. So, if you were a little bit peeved before, you had these things in Flow Falcon, you come over to DI, they're not available. They are available now, and they should make it a lot easier for you to perform some capacity analysis or just identify which applications or which services in the network are taking up all of your bandwidth. Okay, continuing on the theme of improvements, we now have the ability in Device Manager to bulk edit. So, first step was viewing the devices in Data Insight, and we've had that for some time. But being able now to bulk edit devices is really important. Previously with SevOne, if you wanted to do this kind of bulk edit, for example, change a community string, or change, maybe a polling frequency, for example, you'd have to write an API script that would go out and do it across. I mean, you could do it one-on-one, but if you wanted to do it across 50 or 100 or 1,000 devices, you would have to kind of script something for that. And so now what we've done is you'll be able to edit multiple devices when you press the edit button, and you get the side panel that comes out. Any of the fields that are bulk editable that makes sense to bulk edit, like obviously maybe IP address is not a great place to bulk edit, but in some of the fields, for example, the read community string, write community string, and others, we can do these bulk edits now, and we can change it across multiple devices at the same time. You can also reset that across all the devices if you made a mistake and you want to change it back. You can hit reset. So things like changing the community string now much easier across multiple devices, changing polling frequency across multiple devices, ICMP packet intervals, and more. So those of you who were writing these little scripts or have scripts to do this, if you've got to change a few and you've got this ability now right within the GUI to do it, so you don't have to do any scripting. You don't have to ask a friend. Additionally, this is really cool. I mean, I shouldn't play favorites, but this is really cool. This is what we have now as an alert analysis side panel. So what is that? Well, in the alert details widget that we have in DI, you can see, for example, the alert, all the details of the alert. And that was great. And in fact, in Surf, we were able to do that too. You can see the alert details and everything. But we had no context for that alert. Okay, so we got an alert. What does that mean? Why did it trigger? What was the context in which that triggered? So now we have the ability to use this across the entire product. It's in the details, the alert details widget, and maps. Those are really the only two places where we have kind of that view of all the details of the alerts. But if we do add it to other places, of course, it's going to be available there too. What you're going to see when you click on an alert in this chart is exactly what you see on the right-hand side. So we have an alert analysis. It gives you, the device, the object, the severity, the message, the threshold, first, last, and assigned. That's all, stuff that you might have been able to see before. But additionally, on top of that, we see when it triggers. So what we see here is there's multiple conditions for that triggering: time for connection, time for name lookup, time for downloading, and time until transfer. Okay, great. Now I understand when it triggers. We cut it off here, but you can actually see when it clears as well. So you'll have an understanding of, okay, well, when does this go away? On top of that, we now get kind of a performance metric view of that alert. And so we have a contextual view over time. So we might see what's leading up to that alert and just a better understanding of why that alert triggered. So previously, you would have had to go back to your alert policy or alert threshold, usually policy details, and you keep that context in your mind as you're looking through the report, and you're like, oh yeah, and it's going to clear when. You don't need to go back and look at a separate window anymore. Keep that context in your head. Just a click on the alert itself, it's going to pull up this side panel, give you all this great information. Okay, so on to new support or new deployment options. So we have had a lot of requests for Nutanix AHV, also known as Acropolis. So within SevOne 7.2, this release, we will be supporting deployments of SevOne on Nutanix. Why does this matter? Why do we do it? Well, again, we had a lot of requests after the acquisition of VMware by Broadcom. People were looking for options. That is very normal. So we wanted to provide another cost-effective infrastructure option for hosting SevOne. And so those of you who have been asking for this, it is now available in 7.2. Okay. I do want to remind everybody, maybe not new for 7.2, but maybe your first webinar, or you're not familiar with Sano. I just want to remind people that SevOne is a great tool for bringing in data. We have tons of plugins, SD-WAN, Wi-Fi, tons of support across multiple environments, cloud. Having that data is great. Being able to act on that data is even better. And so with Sano, which is SevOne Automated Network Observability, we can automate network actions based on the insight that SevOne provides you. And we can reduce repetitive tasks through automation. Something happens, we kick off, we trigger, and we don't need to have for example, maybe we have a resource that's a full-time employee that's required to do a lot of these mundane tasks where they could be freed up to do something creative, something that provides income, and revenue into the business. So we really are very happy to be able to provide this type of functionality to the community. And so we do have the IBM TechZone community. There's a ton of templates on there already. So for example, there could be, you could kick off, maybe there's no SNMP connectivity, for example, and you kick off an automation to troubleshoot why that may be, and to, change the community string. Maybe that's the reason why it was down. Maybe there was an issue with the community string, for example. So these things can be automated and just free your time up. Again, these are just an example of the workflows. I highly recommend that you check out the IBM TechZone community and check out those templates. There's a great community there, lots of conversation. Would love for you guys to take part. I'm not going to go through this whole slide, but I'm really excited to be able to be here with you today to talk about all of the things that we've come out with 7.2. It's a minor release, quote unquote minor. It's a dot something, but fantastic set of new features, improved features. It's easier to do your reporting, scheduling. It's easier to pull in the data that you need with the pluginization of everything. It's easier to understand the state of your Wi-Fi AP, which was not possible before. There's just too much to go over here, but I really encourage you to check it out. It's a fantastic release, and we're very, very excited about it. This is fun. We would love to hear what you think. You've heard what I think. I might be a little biased, right? You've heard what I think. We want to hear what you think. We would love it if you could take a few minutes and just share your thoughts, your experiences, and your feelings about IBM SevOne on Trust Radius. So if you go into Trust Radius, there's a QR code here at the bottom, and I'll just leave it up for a bit of time so that you're able to get a snapshot of that, or you can pull it up on your phone or whatever. But we would love for you to leave a review about SevOne. And if you do that, Trust Radius is offering via email a $25 gift card for your published review. So, I mean, who doesn't like $25 just for sharing how much they love SevOne, right? So take a look at the QR code, go hit up Trust Radius, leave a great review for SevOne, and get a $25 gift card. Be sure to get that snapshot. Okay. And with that, I will leave you all thinking about all of the great new things in 7.2. Would love to get you upgraded and on your way to better context. So thank you.